All right, welcome back. Now, as part of measures to check money laundering and terrorism financing, and well, the federal government is to begin the profiling of non-profit organizations, NPOs or NGOs, non-government organizations in the country.
Yeah, that's correct. Now, the move, spearheaded by the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, says that a comprehensive list of all NGOs in the country has now been forwarded to its office in order to help it determine NGOs that are actually committed to the main cause. The profiting or profiling will ensure that NGOs are not used as fronts or conduits for terrorist financing or channels for escaping assets freezing measures, as well as instruments to conceal diversion of public funds. Well, yes. NGOs found culpable will be delisted and their registrations removed.
That's already a subject of debate there, because some people are already thinking that government too could use this to stifle opposition at some level, which the NGOs or non-profit organizations actually provide. Well, we have a lawyer right here in the studio, is a public affairs analyst also, Olayinka Ola Daniels. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you.
Okay, I wonder how this particular planned move by government, came to you when you heard it the first time, that government plans to profile about 100 NGOs in the country, because it looks like there's some things that are not too clear about them.
Yeah, well, this is not coming as a surprise to some of us, because if you remember last year, well, an attempt was made by the House of Reps. I think a bill was sponsored by Honorable Jibril Umar to
the NGO
bill.
the
NGO bills, to regulate the NGOs, and there were outcry from civil societies and other stakeholders to say, come, you can't do this. In the registration structure of NGO at this Corporate Affairs Commission, already the structures is there. How to checkmate NGO is there. The constitution is there, and every other apparatus have been set in place to checkmate NGOs. So now, coming to use bill to avert that, or coming to use bill to then checkmate NGOs, because of the outcry, even after the bill had passed the second reading, and there was a public hearing, and nobody, no single one, supported the bill. Now, more like the bill is, going off track, maybe dive down. Now, federal government is coming through another route to then ask, okay, give us the list of all NGOs. We want to investigate. See, if we call something non-governmental organization, there's little or nothing federal government can do. Because, you see, if care is not taken, you see, it's called non-governmental. If care is not taken.
Does it mean they can, they have the freedom to do as they like?
No.
Get funding from anywhere?
No, that's the reason why I said there are regulatory laws
already
in place for that, to checkmate all that. Because once you tell federal government comes into place to checkmate all this, now they would then define or determine what constitutes legal dues, illegal dues, one money coming in, and like I said, you can never tell how far government will go about this to shut down the opposition.
All right, but this impression that the NGOs could be conduits or passageways, for money laundering and all of that, do you think there is substance in it?
Well, we can't take it out. The truth is, we all know, except we're going to be deceiving ourselves or lying to ourselves, that things like this are not happening. And they happen all over the world. Like I said, there are also avenues to checkmate all this, to know where this is coming from. Now, we are talking about NGOs using using their organization to front, to probably assist the terrorists or bring in arms and, money laundering and whatever. Government can also do this. Nobody talks about government when it comes to all this. We shift everything to, some other people, the NGOs. Who says government also can perpetrate this evil?
Well, that's another kettle of fish entirely. But the point here is, government suspects or has good reason to suspect or doubt the integrity of the NGOs and the non-profit organizations. You said, look, there are checks in place already. There are systems in place to actually help to determine, whether NGOs are taking monies they should not be taking and all of that, or whether they're being used for other purposes other than what they're set up for or their purpose. But then again, how effective are those systems if they're there already in the first place?
You see, it's funny. I'm asking you for money. I've told you that this is what I do in my country. Yeah. And I need money to probably help in such. Okay, look at the issue of the meningitis in Kano the other time. It took an NGO to come to the help of government. Government was helpless. It took an NGO under 24 hours to fly into the country to bring, vaccine and all that. Yes. See, if we are saying, yes, there's money laundering, there is that, and there is this, and that we need to check you. I'm asking you for money. It bestowed upon you to do your due diligence, to know what I do. What I am asking the money, asking you, I'm asking you for the money. You want to know why I'm asking you for money.
What you're saying is that the onus lies on the person who is funding the NGO to actually do their checks.
I need money. There's poverty in my country. The diseases and everything, and I need money or I tell you I need vaccine for meningitis in my country. It's either you bring the vaccine. If you're not bringing, if you know where I can get it, you can tell me. Then you release the money for that. And then your own due diligence is to find out truly whether such thing exists. All right. But when that is not done, then you release money. Then we need to also question you. What are you releasing money for?
Let me take you up on that a little. Take Nigeria, for example. The example you just used, the meningitis outbreak, where an NGO had to step in and try to close that gap. The organizations abroad, for example, they have many countries, people from everywhere that are asking for one kind of favor or the other, financial favors most of the time. How much, to what extent really can they do the vetting themselves? If in Bangladesh, in Peru, in Syria, everywhere where there's one problem or the other, they actually have to go out of their way to do the vetting themselves or the background checks.
Do you invest in what you don't know?
Well,
will you put money, and I've come to you to introduce a business to you, and you're just going to put your hand money into that business without knowing whether that business truly exists, without knowing what I do in that business?
Well, there's the added cost of me ensuring that my money is not going to be going into wrong hands or wrong targets. Okay. So it means I have to spread myself thin.
You have to. If you have chosen to give, to help, then you must know what you are given for. That's the reason why we are saying that now, rather than federal government coming to say, the money you were given, come and account for the money. It does not lie in federal government to say you account for the money that Mr. A gave you. No, it is the Mr. A that's supposed to ask you, Madam B, to say, the money I gave you, what did you do with it?
That's correct. All right.
Okay. Fair enough.
What do you think this attempt by the government to regulate, if you like, the activities of the NGOs and all of that, what do you think this might do to the psyche of, NGOs who are genuinely involved in the cause of humanity?
You see, like I said earlier, if care is not taken, in fact, we say we run a democratic government where democracy should be the watchword. And if care is not taken, this will go on and we'll lose it totally. where does democracy exist if there is no freedom? Section 40 of 1999 Constitution as amended made it clear. We know there's freedom of assembly, there's freedom of organizations and all that.
Absolute freedom?
Then you have freedom, but the check and balances are also, like I said, are there in your constitution. Now, if government is saying, no, this one is going to be risky to have these people move around, this one is going to be, then where's the freedom coming from? Then how we talk about civil society. If there are no civil society, there's no democracy.
So you align yourself with the perception out there that this is some sort of attempt to limit, freedom. I mean, the freedom of doing, things like this, don't you?
So absolutely, because even not only our own constitution, even the African Charter of Human and People's Rights made it clear. That's Article 10 and 11, thereabout. Yes, Article 10 and 11 made it clear. You see, he has given us other moves. Even the International Covenant and Right and whatever, that's Article 22, thereabout, 21 and 22. They all made it. So if we are checkmating NGOs, if we don't allow civil society to move, because don't forget, this is not just civil society. This is not just because we have different duties. Some NGOs come with different different work, different aid, different helps and all that. And then you then be the government to determine who operates. Now, it says, don't forget, in that particular bill, they have power to deregister. So now, if you come as an NGO and you become a thorn in the flesh of the government, then the government can just come up tomorrow to say, no, this
find
NGO
an excuse to deregister.
They deregister them. Or the other ones that have been that are yet to be registered, no, you are not qualified. And the next thing, it becomes Putin. Sorry.
So issues of bias, issues of
where no opposition, nobody can stand up to government, and government is in charge of everything, and nobody can tell government you are not doing things right. Nobody can question, nobody can criticize, nobody can. That is what is going to end up being.
It could breed bias in the processes that bring about the NGOs and all of that.
Not just bias. I said at the hearing, at the public hearing, not single one person.
Agreed.
Agreed. Not single. In fact, the sponsor, the sponsor of the bill could not even say anything.
The deputy majority leader.
He could not even say anything in the air. He was just blabbering and all that.
But is it possible too that the NGOs, as innocently as they want to help out in closing the gap when it comes to deficiencies in government, things that are required from government to do, is it possible that they themselves are not aware of some of the requirements or things, the limits, or the things that they are required to do or not to do in the first place? Is there a need to educate them? Is that where government or any other person who is interested in making sure that NGOs are actually above board, really, because they really should be?
Don't forget that they get registered.
Should government be thinking of that first? Let's educate these NGOs, enlighten them on what is required of them and what they should not be doing.
They know.
So that maybe they can have some kind of internal mechanism to ensure too that they're on the same page with
their internal mechanism.
Within the NGOs
Within
themselves.
the NGOs. There are. Within the NGOs. They know what to do.
You're saying that in their desperation to get $1 million or whatever the amount is to solve the problem of Lassa fever, meningitis, the IDP camps, in the northeast and all of that, that somebody from wherever decides to give them $1 million. In the desperation to get the funds to meet those challenges, is it possible that loopholes could be allowed and they don't carry out the
due diligence?
Exactly.
Well, you can't take that out. Yes, like you said, in the desperation of getting money to do this, yes, that could be allowed. And that's the reason why we have that internal mechanism to checkmate those things. Now, when you go wrong, don't forget, during the registration of most of these NGOs, all these things are fixed. Now, when you immediately go out of your scope, immediately you go out of your own assignment, what you claim you want to do, then you have goofed. So you can, in fact, government need not come in. The law is clear. This karma is clear on what will happen. I mean, you see, you can't throw away the child,
the baby with the bathwater.
Baby with the bathwater. Because yeah, there's more laundry than who says is the only NGO that using money laundry that is going through money laundry thing?
All right,
Don't you have an individual that is into that? Even the so-called members of the so-called big government cabal and all. We all know what is happening. We may not. Okay, you may ask me for facts, which I may not declare here because they are bringing different lists right now that we don't know who is who, and well, my name will not be there. I don't know about you.
All right. all right. But beyond the cry about limiting the freedom of expression or thought, you know, belonging to the NGOs and so forth, Jubril's argument was that it will bring about accountability, it will bring about transparency in the way that, you know, funds disbursed to these NGOs are managed. We couldn't argue that, could we?
Can you?
That argument is baseless.
Really?
Why?
Yes, his argument is covered by the internal mechanism for every NGOs. It's covered. It's baseless. I've told you what they're out for. I've told you what they are looking for. They have their motive for this, and it's totally absurd.
Do you get a sense?
We are this where you run. I mean, a very poor and primitive society where an average Nigerian is suffering from. You know, they cannot even eat 1 square meals, and this is what you bring up.
So what you're saying,
to even shut down the small freedom they have. No.
That leads me to the next question. How much difference really have NGOs? Because since the 80s, 90s, it looked like it became a trend. Every other person just... So somebody asked me once, you know, your name actually starts with the NGO. Why don't you set up an NGO? You know, that's really funny. But then again, it just shows that, look, anybody can just, you know, wake up and say, look, I want to set up an NGO, because the guidelines are not stringent enough.
Well, let me tell you this. To the best of my knowledge, because I was part of one before, NGO has done extremely well in Nigeria. And I will give you two instances, particularly one when I was in the university. In fact, this whole thing started even when I was in year 2. It was called KAKA. We started, that is Campaign Against Child Abuse, as a student. And we know as a student what we contributed to the society at large. You know, we go to even all those seas, you know, you find out, I went to Unilag, and, you know, we had these seashores where crabs come. Yeah. So you find out that some kids come from outside, they pick those crabs to go and sell. So when we go, we see them, so we approach them, we talk to them, from there we go to their house, to their parents' house. Why are you not in school? Why are you doing this here? And from there, we talk to the parent, what do you want? They said they don't have anything. Okay, fine. We'll sponsor the education of this, whatever. Madam, what can you do? We buy either a granted machine or something and all that. We were students, and we were doing that. Now, also when I finished, and I was serving, I worked with an NGO, I think they were into Seward or something. What we do, we go to the prison, we talk to the inmates, we get a list of people that are there that are just there for nothing. So we go to court for their bail. We get them out. If it's about, some may just be fine. In fact, you may see somebody in prison for 3 years just to pay 3,000 naira fine for 3 years, because nobody knows his whereabouts, nobody knows where he's and all that. So we do all this and we get them out. These are things NGO does. These are things they do to the society. Like I've given you 2 instances that I personally involved in. And we can talk about many of them and what they are doing, even where government is helpless, where government cannot even rise up to the occasion to say this. And you find that they come in, okay, look at the IDP camp, look at so many instances where they are the one that comes in to give food, to give different aids. We talked about meningitis and some other things. And we have a government that cannot fix the basic things. you find out that this NGO coming and you still want to checkmate.
So all right, Angela Nwogo, head special control unit of the EFCC, some time ago said that some NGOs have been found to be sponsoring criminal activities, and you wonder if any of those NGOs
sponsoring criminal activities
have been found to do this. So why have they not gone, against them? I mean, why have they not?
Thank you. A very pertinent question you asked.
Yes.
If you are telling us and you have evidence, fact, though, yes, these people are sponsoring terrorism, they are sponsoring this, that, why don't you go after them? If you have your facts, you have your evidence. You don't just come on media and make noise of what you don't even have. No, get them. You see, nobody is above the law. If any NGO is perpetrating evil, is covering, is veiling whatever is atrocities and all that by NGOs and is doing evil, do your investigation. Find out if they are culpable, then do the needful. Don't come and then tell the whole world that, no, this is what they do. Find out first. Get your facts. Have enough evidence, take them to court. We have people, I mean, there are individuals, there are NGOs, they're everywhere, even government people not in court, past governors not in court for one thing or the other. So what is the
So there's a possibility, a strong possibility that with this bill, if it really has its way, could actually stifle the spirit of volunteerism in Nigeria. Is that a strong possibility?
No, take that again.
If this bill really goes ahead and it's signed into law, will it kill the spirit of volunteerism in Nigeria?
One, let me tell you this: we will go to court. That bill will not.
It won't see the light of day.
See the light of day. We will go to court. That is one. Two, like you said, it will kill every morale. In fact, our country will become so laughable in the entire world because we signed treaties with so many countries. I just told you of African Charter. I told you of the United Nations and all that. There's no how we can run an island government where we just want to do our thing and we are not part of the world. We're just going to be laughable. We want to move forward, and we are talking about bills that is shutting down people from exercising their rights, their freedom, and all that. No.
But are you in support of determining true NGOs that are committed to their cause?
I don't have a problem with that.
All right.
I am in support, provided due process is followed, provided they are doing what they are supposed to do and not just put everything on NGOs, because the government is not doing most of these things. Thank you. They fail in their responsibilities. So you have all sort of people coming in court.
Or should we say they are complementing? Should we say they are complementing what government is doing?
The government has already given room for the question you asked. Because if they are they are up to tax, we
won't have NGOs springing up.
And I mean, for nothing, opportunity to just squander or money laundering and all that. We won't have that if they are doing their part. But even at that, I would say, if not by, because like I said, is a very thin line to winch on. Very thin line to shut down opposition. Very thin line to shut down civil society. Very thin line to shut down media. So we have to be very careful.
All right, that's a beautiful place to leave it indeed. Olainka, Ola Daniel, so much. Thank you very much indeed for coming, a public affairs analyst. Thank you for coming to talk to us.
Pleasure.
All right.
Thank you. We'll take a quick break and we will come back and talk about Nigeria's power sector. There seems to be a lot of waste in that sector, about 100 and something billion lost already in 3 months. Stay with us.